Welcome to the Instagram Stories for Monday, June 23rd. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. Today on the show, we're going to hear the CEO of YouTube, Mohan, talk about what YouTube is doing to ensure that it is the best place for creators. He's going to share some stats that have to do with how YouTube is performing in comparison to other streaming giants like Netflix and what makes YouTube different. Additionally, we'll hear from the head of Instagram with a couple of questions from his weekly Ask Me Anything, including how you can put yourself out there for brand deals and what the best way to use trial reels is. All of that and more on today's episode, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's start with the audio clip from the CEO of YouTube, where he talks about how YouTube is performing in comparison to the other streaming giants, particularly Netflix, and he addresses a dig that the co-CEO of Netflix made about YouTube. Here's the clip.
YouTube now accounts for 11% of all watch time on TVs. And that may not sound like a huge number. That is a massive number. It's the first streaming platform to surpass that milestone. Number two, second place, is Netflix at around 8.5%. So I'm going to read some things Ted Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix, has recently said about YouTube, and then I want you to react. Okay, so here's some sick burns coming. Okay, so okay. Ted has said YouTube is a platform focused on killing time, and Netflix is in the spending time business. YouTube doesn't pay creators upfront for content, putting them at financial risk. And he suggested that YouTube creators could find a more stable financial future with Netflix. And the last thing he's been emphasizing is Netflix's focus on premium storytelling. So you've gotten under Hollywood's skin. Let's hear
yes.
I want to hear your reaction to this.
Look, my reaction to it is, as you and I were just talking about, we're in the business of our creators. Our only job is to give them a voice, make them successful. It's literally written into our mission statement. So I spend very little time thinking about those types of quotes, and all of my time focused on what's going to make our creators successful. You come to YouTube, we all come to YouTube, not because it's this amazing platform, which of course, I'm biased, I think it is, but because of these amazing creators and artists and musicians and all kinds of thought leaders are, and that's who you go to engage with. And, who am I to say what's spending time, engaging time, quality time, killing time? I think that's, frankly, just the industry just kind of talking to itself. It's all of us as consumers, the 2 billion people that come to YouTube every single day. We get to decide how to spend our time, and increasingly more and more of them are spending it with the amazing creators on YouTube.
Well, you did answer back a little bit. You had Brandcast, right, which is kind of your upfront during Upfronts week, and you brought out all your big creators, and you gave a quote, and you said, this isn't about YouTube becoming more like traditional TV. This is about TV becoming YouTube. So let's talk about what you mean by that.
Yeah, and actually the first thing that I meant by that quote is, again, it's not my job to determine what people consider to be TV. It's not any of my partners or competitors' jobs to do that. It's all of us as consumers. Consumers are actually voting with their watch time, with their engagement, and that's really what I meant, which is if you're a person, especially if you're a young person, your expectation is that when you turn on the TV, the reason why you're turning on YouTube is because it's the place where you get everything that you're looking for, from, a 15-minute VOD with your favorite YouTuber, to that 3-hour NFL game, to a 15-hour live stream, to a 30-second short, all in one place. And by the way, it's not just the old world where all of that content is just talking at you. You can participate. That fandom that exists on YouTube is not just in service of all of that amazing content, but it is culture setting in its own right. So the fact that YouTube is the epicenter of culture because of our creators is really what I meant by YouTube being the new TV.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there for a second. In the next clip I'm going to play, he talks about a strategy that some of the YouTubers who have millions of followers have been doing, and he also talks more about what separates YouTube from some of the other streaming platforms that creators are hoping to get signed to. Here's the clip.
These creators, every time they speak to me, they tell me that YouTube is their home base. They understand that all of that success that they're getting on YouTube, but that they're getting off of YouTube, derives from this incredible audience and this connection, this authentic connection to their credit that they've built on YouTube. You go to, you go to Mr. Beast, to Jimmy Donaldson's offices in North Carolina. He's got kind of his 5 rules of success. His number 1 rule is YouTube first. So no matter what he does, the place where he will invest the most of his creativity, of his time, and his resources is in the success of his YouTube channel and the videos. And every month, they get bigger and bigger and more spectacular because he recognizes that that's not only good for him on YouTube, but also provides all of these other opportunities that are ancillary to what he's doing on YouTube. And so, back to the point of YouTube being the epicenter of culture, if we're the place where other services and platforms are getting their cultural ideas, I think that's great for those creators, but also great for the YouTube ecosystem. On YouTube, the model is very different than it is on other streaming services, obviously studios, because we don't own the content.
Right.
The creator owns the content. So when that video, Miss Rachel uploads that video to YouTube, not only can she continue to benefit for years in terms of its revenue growth because of our revenue share program, but if she decides to do something different with that video, she can do that whenever she wants. And so the analogy that I like to use when it comes to creators, it's your channel is like a library. You're basically building up this library around your creativity, around your vision, and it should be more valuable to you 10 years from now than it is today because you always get to continue to own the content as opposed to licensing it off or selling it off to a studio, which is the way the traditional underwriting modeling.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. The rest of the Q&A is incredibly interesting. I will link to it in the show notes so that you can check it out for yourself. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the head of Instagram will answer some questions. Stick around. Welcome back. Let's dive into some of the questions that the head of Instagram answered on his weekly Ask Me Anything. The first one, how can I put myself out there for brand deals? Great question.
Highly recommend looking at the creator marketplace as an option. Also check your DMs. Request is a place where a lot of brands will reach out to you, and you can also reach out to brands via DMs as well. And then talk to friends who also have deals and get a sense for how they tend to generate leads. Figure out if there's some demand out there and if there's brands that are aligned with what you do and that you love, because it'll go better if you actually really do authentically enjoy the brands that you work with.
Let's move on to the next question. It's one that I actually talked about fairly recently on the show, but I think it's good to revisit. Does editing a post after it's live affect its reach? The answer to that is no, but I think it's very tempting to think that if you modify a post once it's live, Instagram is going to say, hey, there's something wrong with it. Don't show it to a lot of people. That's not how it works.
No, editing a post after you post it already will not affect its reach. You can feel perfectly comfortable doing that.
Okay, now let's dive into a couple of trial reels questions. This one is actually a good one. What should I do with old trial reels? I mean, once you've learned whether they work or whether they don't, maybe they got you some followers, maybe they didn't, should you just leave them as trial reels forever? Well, you might as well.
I think it's fine just to leave them. If they didn't do well enough or for whatever reason you don't want to upgrade them to a full-blown reel, that's fine. Just leave them out there. They're not doing any harm and they might get some more reach in the future.
Okay, let's do the other trial reels question. Where can I find the trial reels option? It is in the bottom of the options when you are making a new post.
So you can find trial reels if you go to the reel posting flow and you go to the more advanced options, it'll be there. And what a trial reel is it allows the reel to show for people who you don't follow, but not for actually people you do follow. And it doesn't show up on your profile. And then if it does well, you can decide you want to upgrade it and show it to people who do follow you and on your profile. You'll have access as long as you have a public account and more than 1,000 followers. So check it out.
Okay, and the last question we're going to do today, is it better to post on weekends or weekdays? Does time of day matter? Here's the answer.
It depends on your audience. If the people who follow you and the people you're trying to reach tend to use Instagram more on the weekends, then it's better to post then. And if they use Instagram more on the weekdays, then it's better to post then. You can use your insights if you go to ProDash to see, at least for your followers, when they tend to use Instagram and then adjust accordingly. Same thing for time of day.
Okay, that is it for the questions and answers we're going to talk about from the head of Instagram. As a reminder, on Mondays, I send out an email newsletter recapping all the social media stories that I talked about over the past week, along with links to the episodes. If you would like to check that out, you can sign up for the email newsletter by using the link in the show notes, or I've added it to my bio. So you can get there from the link in my bio on Instagram at Daniel Hill Media. As always, thank you so much for listening, and be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things that you need to know.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work, without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish, unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.